Hello Stargazers, Bryan Colter here, Evolutionary Astrologer, for another horoscope video about the upcoming Virgo new moon that happens in just a couple days, where we can figure out how to slay our pride demons by leveraging the more virtuous expression of Virgo as we enter into this Virgo season, which is more about service and humility. Now, for those of you that don't know what evolutionary astrology is, we take a little bit different take on things. It's not so much a predictive style of astrology, or I might do some of that here, but rather we're more focused on just reading the energy of the symbols, the archetypes that are very emphasized for us now, influencing collective consciousness, and we can work with that energy for better or for worse. We can work with it from our higher soul, if you will, the more virtuous potential of the energy, or we can work with it more from an egoic place, prideful place, more part of our human personality. So for better or for worse, that's where the magic of our free will really comes into play. Yes, the energy is influencing us, but it's always about freedom of choice. And the more you work with it in an evolved way, the more you grow, the more you expand your consciousness. Okay, here we go. Here's the chart. And here you can see the Virgo new moon up here. Now, before we dive into Virgo, let's just talk about the biggest event, which has been going on for almost 2 years now. Throughout all of 2021 and 2022, we've had this ongoing Saturn Uranus square, still very active right now. It will be at its final peak, its last hurrah in October and November, but here it is in a very tight square, Uranus in Taurus and Saturn in Aquarius. And this, I mean, I've been describing it for 2 years, so most people know what it's about. But basically, Uranus is this liberating principle, the motivation to be free, to be individuated, okay? It's also linked to change, often sudden change, because it's the god of earthquakes and lightning bolts. It's a planet that seeks innovation and invention and freedom, okay? And then you have Saturn, which is very different. These planets really couldn't be much more different than each other. It's the planet of limitation, of blockage. It likes to slow things down. It likes to think methodically. It's about let's be down to earth. Let's be connected with reality. Let's be strategic about how we move forward. Okay, so Uranus likes to move really quick. Saturn likes to move very slow. And, you know, positive qualities with Saturn is being pragmatic, it's the symbol of wisdom. It's known as the wizard archetype, which derives from the word wizened when we start to get credibility lines on our face. So it's the planet of maturity and wisdom. But also, you know, on a more negative side, it can be stubbornly attached to the artifacts of the past, habit energy, karmic habit energies, and can get kind of stuck. And sometimes it's like a brick wall. And Uranus doesn't like brick walls. Here they are square to each other. Square is a tension-based aspect or friction-based. They're at cross purposes with each other. So you can think of these two planets, which are very different, in an arm wrestling match over these 2 years. And it's about liberation and freedom versus basically limitation and slowness and blockage. And, you know, we're seeing this across the collective, of course, but then it's affecting people in their own personal lives. And the people who it's affecting the most are people who have very sensitive places in their chart, which are at about, 18 to 22 degrees of the fixed signs. So Taurus and Aquarius here, as well as Scorpio and Leo. So if you have some planets around those degrees of those signs, it's affecting you more than the average bear. But it is affecting the collective as well. So freedom versus limitation and restriction is the energy. And of course, that's been very obvious. And I also say that it's affecting some countries more than others. One country it's affecting heavily is the U.S. because the U.S. is going through a monumental event right now. I'm not going to bring up the U.S. chart, but just describe it briefly here, where they're experiencing the Pluto return. Pluto has a, I think, 248-year orbit, if I'm remembering correctly. And back when the U.S. was formed, Declaration of Independence, about 250 years ago, Pluto was at right around here. I think it's 27 or 28 degrees of Capricorn. Right now, Pluto's at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So its return to its own birth chart or natal position, the Pluto return, which basically the U.S. is going through a major process of transformation. Pluto likes to break things down to rebuild. It's the classic death and rebirth sequence. So the U.S. is dying to be reborn. What will it be reborn into? We don't know. That depends on the choices of the collective. And if we're coming at this transformation, which has the classic feeling of Pluto feeling of being very intense, okay? As we confront that intensity, if we work with it in a more high consciousness way within the collective, we'll transform into something much better. Or if we're coming from our more egoic place, it can devolve into something worse. And that really depends on our own choices. Okay, so, to have the Saturn Uranus square during the Pluto return is pretty wild. And this Saturn Uranus, although the square is active now, it will be at its final peak October, November. And I think that's right when we're having midterms. So to have the election cycle right then, it's going to be pretty colorful. And then, of course, we have the big election in 2024. By then, Pluto will be wrapping up its transit through Capricorn and entering into Aquarius. So the next year and a half to 2 years are going to be pretty wild. Okay, this major process of transformation during elections where there's going to be this Saturn-Uranus liberation versus restriction energy, a lot of chaos. One thing, the image I always like to use with Saturn-Uranus events is the sudden change. The dam breaks, the water floods through the land, changes the landscape forever. Something's got to give. The log jam finally gives away when Saturn and Uranus come together because of the friction of these two energies. So during election, there's going to be a lot of chaos, uncertainty, suspicion about outcomes. It's going to be very interesting. So U.S. is feeling it very strong. There's actually another country I want to bring up here really quickly, and that's China. So here's the chart for China. The inner ring is their birth chart. The outer ring is the transits. Here you can see this Saturn and Uranus square, okay? So this is happening in a very sensitive place in China's birth chart because as you can see, it's affecting the Venus on the fixed sign of Scorpio up there in the 9th house, and it's heavily activating this Pluto-Mars conjunction. This is one of the most interesting aspects in China's chart. So the Saturn-Uranus is lighting up China's chart like a Christmas tree. And this whole freedom and liberation versus restriction and control, Saturn-Uranus, is making itself felt in China a lot. And also, they're going through some economic issues. Here you have Neptune on the more negative side can bring about disillusionment. Here it is in the house of money and security and survival. So disillusionment around economy, things like this. And people are starting to fight back. People are revolting. People are coming together. There's the Saturn-Uranus. And they are a culture of fighters, we could say, because Mars conjunct Pluto in their birth chart. Let's just return to their singular chart here for a second. There it is. Wherever Pluto is in the chart, if it's next to a planet, it brings out the extremes of the planet it's next to. So here it is, bringing out the extremes of Mars, the war god, right next to Pluto, the god of hell. So this is a good word to describe this conjunction would be volatile. Okay, so bringing out the extreme bad and extreme good of Mars. Mars' extreme good will be tremendous acts of heroism and bravery. And then the shadow side would be violence, conflict, competition. So anyways, this is pretty intense. It's activated now by the Saturn-Uranus square. And when we think about violence and then the polar opposite of incredible bravery, it makes me think about what happened in 1989 with the person standing in front of the tank. There's a the most extreme positive expression of Pluto-Mars happening in that moment for that person, and then the immediate repercussion for that action by the extreme negative Mars-Pluto, which is violence. So that event in 1989 was an utterly Pluto-Martial event. It'd be interesting to look at the transit triggers during that time. I haven't looked at that. But this same volatile cocktail of planets here is being activated by Saturn Uranus. And I say it's a culture of war, of Mars, but they do it in a more, let's say, cerebral way, because they have, in their primal triad, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, they have double Aquarius and Libra. These are air signs. They're on the mental plane. So they do cerebral warfare. They're highly intelligent. And I don't want to chew up this whole video on China, but let's just say China and the U.S., the Saturn-Uranus square is affecting these two countries quite heavily. Okay, let's return to the chart here for a second. Okay, so here is how the sky looks right now, okay? And that is the headliner, the Saturn-Uranus square. But now we dig more into the minutia of what's going on right now with this Virgo new moon. And we'll notice that this Virgo new moon is in a tight square to the Mars. We were just talking about Mars, but in a different context with China. Mars is at 4 degrees of Gemini. So we're going to talk about that new moon to Mars square. And we also want to take into consideration the planet that rules Virgo. This will be also important to look for. And that is Mercury. Mercury rules Virgo. It is in Libra, and it's in a dead opposition to Jupiter in Aries. And Jupiter right now is going in retrograde, going backwards. And Mercury's going and speeding up. So this is a very strong, what's called applying opposition between these two planets. And then in a couple weeks, Mercury will go retrograde. So really, Mercury and Jupiter are going to be dancing in the sky for quite some time. Okay, so this is the beginning of it. It's important to look at that as well. So why is this video called Pride Demons? Okay, and I want to connect this idea to the Jupiter in Aries and Mars in Gemini, which are both very active right now. And it's almost like we got two votes for war here, because you have Jupiter in Mars's natural sign, Aries, and then you have Mars, which rules Aries, in Gemini. Okay, so a lot of warrior energy activated right now during this new moon. And again, we highlighted some of the positive aspects of the warrior: to be brave, to be assertive, indomitable willpower, great resolve, courageous, adventurous, and we'll see a lot of that, okay, right now. And if these planets are activating sensitive places in your chart, maybe it's time to go on an adventure and do something that intimidates you a little bit to expand your comfort zones. That would be a great way to work with these planets if it's activating your chart. Now, on the more shadow side of this, Jupiter in Aries can be a bit self-righteous. This energy can be quite reactive, impulsive, angry, bitter. Here, Mars is in Gemini, the sign of communication, so having a sharp tongue or attacking with words because of feeling self-righteous. So this would be a more negative side. So pride is a good word to use with these symbols, more on the negative side. Okay. Now so my recommendation would be this is when we talk about like the evolutionary way of working with this, it's about developing more awareness about the pride within you. There was a recent podcast, the Lex Friedman's podcast. He was interviewing, I forget his name. It was like a Christian bishop or something like this. It was a fascinating interview. And Lex asked him, what's the deadliest of the 7 deadly sins? And he said, without hesitation, pride. Because his explanation was basically all the other sins are derived from pride. Pride is the monster, the head honcho, if you will, of the 7 deadly sins. So with this prideful energy here, developing more awareness about our own internal pride demons, which of course we all have to a certain degree. It's a part of our more egoic human personality, and that's part of the magic of being born here on planet Earth. Here you have this infinite soul having a finite experience and incarnating into this body and having spiritual amnesia, so forgetting about where you come from, forgetting about unity consciousness, entering into this realm, this dense dimension of reality where we get caught up in the illusion of separateness and polarity consciousness. So we all have pride within us. So with these prideful set of energies here, with Mars squaring the new moon and Jupiter in Aries opposite the ruler, we want to be, of course, careful about being overly reactive, but just analyzing, because Virgo has the potential of being quite exacting with its analysis. So analyzing these things, which can be hard work to do, and I'll be sharing a meditation at the end of this video where we can do just that, analyze our own prideful behavior. And the opposite of pride is humility. And the highest virtue of Virgo is humility. It's the classic virgin archetype, which has nothing to do with sexuality. But way back in history, virginity was seen as this exalted state of purity. Okay, so the Virgo path is to follow the path of humility and purity. Okay, so to be pure, to be impeccable, to be perfect. Now, of course, that can get us into trouble. For you Virgos out there, you're your own worst enemy in terms of how damn hard you are on yourself. That perfectionist energy. Turn inward. I'm not good enough. I'm not there yet. So it's a sign susceptible to worry, concern, guilt, and shame. And if you treat yourself that way for too long and you externalize that, which these Mars and Jupiter energies are more about action, externalization, you could therefore be too hard on other people as well. But of course, the origin of that would be treating yourself that way. For you Virgos out there, this is not going to apply to everybody, obviously. But we take this same idea, and this idea following the virtue of being pure, okay, and really leveraging this quality of humility right now is the direct antidote for slaying our pride demons, which the meditation will focus on. And there's another beautiful way to work with this new moon, where it's known as the servant archetype or the craftsperson, okay, to also follow the virtue of service to others. Now, if you do service to others and you're helpful towards other being, not only does it help yourself, but it helps other people. This leads us to unity consciousness. This leads us to an extension, a way you can create action into the world with your soul energy to help others from love instead of egoism. And that's also a very humbling process as well. So through service, through tithing, through giving of your energy, if it feels good, of course, because some people will try to take advantage of that. So you want to have boundaries. But with a new moon, it's about new beginnings. So what new beginning can I create in my life where I can give more of myself in the spirit of humility and service? This is the most, in my opinion, the most beautiful way of working with these energies. But we have these squares and oppositions where there's pride in the mix, causing an internal resistance sometimes to that. So really trying to work with these energies, internalize them, contemplate about them, thinking about them cerebrally, because Virgo is a very cerebral sign, and the Mercury is in a cerebral sign of Libra, which is an air sign. So this is the main way of working with these energies to really put our personal growth and evolution in hyperdrive. I want to spend a little bit more time with Mars because I had a question from my Discord community. I'll bring that up in a second, about a deeper understanding about Mars and Gemini. Actually, with the Discord community, we now have a community poll going for the next chart spotlight video I'll be doing. So far, I've done videos on Elon Musk, on Osho, on Hitler, kind of an odd trio there, but I've done videos on all those people. And we have a poll going for the next video, and there's a dead tie between Elvis and Jordan Peterson. So I never thought I'd say those two names in the same sentence, but there it is. We are tied. So the next video will be on one of those people, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So if you want to check out the Discord community and the offerings there, you can see the link right there on the screen, but I'll also put a hyperlink below in the show description. So let's go ahead and bring up that question that Karina had about Mars and Gemini. There it is on the screen. Okay, hi Bryan, can you please share how to best work with Mars and Gemini? I have Gemini in my 11th house of my chart, and my birth chart placement is Mars in Gemini, 24 degrees. And I think this event's going to impact me pretty heavily. And yeah, it will. This is a major activation for you in your chart. The Mars won't actually conjunct your birth chart placement for about, 5 weeks or so. So it's not active yet, but I imagine it's entering into your 11th house. So it's still important to look at now. But the energy is going to continue to increase over the coming weeks. So Mars and Gemini. Let's take this down here. Okay. So riffing on the energy a little bit. I mean, I already talked about Mars, right? The war god, bravery, assertiveness, fire, okay? If I had to associate it with an element, it would be fire because it rules Aries, the fire sign. So a fiery planet, we could say. Here it is in the air sign of Gemini. And air and fire energy get along great with each other. They're mutually beneficial. They support each other. They increase the energy in a positive way. So Mars actually really likes being in Gemini. And the energy it represents is energetic, is kinetic, is frenetic sometimes too, but it's a quick-moving energy. So working with Mars, either in your birth chart or by transit, a good way of thinking about it through the evolutionary perspective is, how can I sharpen my will and develop my courage? Okay? And how can I avoid the dark side of Mars, which in Gemini would be basically impulsivity, foot and mouth moments, having that sharp tongue, being too combative with the wit, competitive with the mind, because Gemini is the communication, the sign of the communicator, the storyteller, the journalist, the gossiper on the more negative side. Okay, so there can be ways to get into trouble with Mars. Okay, but also it's like, how can I sharpen my will and develop my courage? That martial evolutionary question around Gemini, which is to say the power of my voice, or ultimately it's the sign of learning. Maybe there's some ambitious thing you need to learn or something like this. Okay, so this is very broad strokes generalizing Mars and Gemini, how to work with it in your own chart. But even if you have Mars in a different sign in your chart, ask the same question. How can I sharpen my will and develop my courage regarding the sign it's in and the house it's in? Okay. Now, in Karina's case, her Mars is in the 11th house, and there's a lot of directions we could take with this. But for starters, it is classically known as the house of friends. Not really close friendships, but tribe energy and organizations and acquaintances. So who is Karina's tribe? She needs a warrior tribe. She needs to surround herself with people that will encourage her, maybe even try to push her beyond her limits lovingly, and it's sort of a playful competitiveness, people she can go on adventures with, and that's a beautiful metaphor of having a martial tribe, is to go river rafting with a group of people. That's a Mars and 11th house activity. So surrounding herself with people who are adventurous, fun, strong, will help to build a bridge to her own inner warrior. Okay. But really, my favorite way of working with the 11th house is it's the house of aspirations and future goals. So for Karina, it's very healthy for her to create a future in her mind that excites her, because Mars and Gemini is an exciting energy. And if she gets it right, it might even intimidate her a little bit. Don't figure out how you actually manifest that future, but create the future. So when Mars returns to your birth chart placement, I would think, okay, how can I make my future that I want to create for myself better than it already is by leaning into this adventurous quality that Mars brings about? Sharpen my will and develop my courage. My dreams need to become more courageous. I need to develop more temerity in my life towards the actualization of those dreams. And surrounding yourself with a warrior tribe will help you to do just that. So you can find the power of your voice, Mars and Gemini. Now, of course, I'm looking at one singular set of symbols here. I don't know the rest of her chart, so there's some danger there. But that would be my advice on how to work with that. So for anybody else, yeah, how can I work with this warrior energy in my life? Figure out where your birth chart placement is, or where you have Gemini in your birth chart, because then you know you have transiting Mars going through that certain house. Okay. All right. Well, that was a little aside. We had a particular question there. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the meditation, but that is the gist of what's going on right now energetically. It's like, okay, let's develop more mental, cognitive, based in reason, almost like a scientist, objective reasoning about our own pride demons. Where is my ego in the mix here? How is it influencing me in a more negative way? And how can I take more of the medicine for that, which is more humility, giving of myself, and service to others, to increase the love, to increase the unity consciousness. So those are the core evolutionary intentions, with the goal being to expand our consciousness. Now, let's go ahead and dive into the meditation, be focused on just that, slaying those pride demons. Wear headphones for best results. Enjoy. Relax into a nice, comfortable position. Take care that your spine is straight. And begin by focusing on the breath. Do nice long inhales and exhales. We will do the 7-1-7-1 breath. So 7 seconds per inhale, deep into the belly. Hold for 1 second. And then 7 seconds per exhale from the belly first. And then at the bottom of the breath, hold for 1 second. 7-second inhale. And continue this 7-1-7-1 rhythm for a little bit longer. Begin to visualize a wall of sky blue flames in front of you. Beautiful sky blue color. And then visualize yourself reaching your hands in front of you and touching the wall and bringing in one of these flames into your hands. And on the next inhale, see, feel, and hear the sky blue flames going up your arms and spreading throughout the rest of your body. These are calming flames. They're not burning. This color and the vibration brings peace to your emotional body. And with each inhale, visualize these sky blue flames glowing brighter and brighter in your body. And as you exhale, see yourself breathing out grayish stress energy from you. And feel the inner peace the inner calm, the balance, as you breathe in more and more sky blue color into your body. And again, visualize the wall in front of you. And now you see the blue flames turn red. And you reach out and you open your palms to receive a red flame. And as you breathe in, you see this red flame spread throughout your entire body. Again, it's not burning, but rather it's the color of purification. This color purifies your system. And with each inhale, you see these beautiful red flames glow as brightly as you can visualize. And continue with this visualization for a little bit longer. Now look again to the wall in front of you and see the red flames turn into violet flames. And open your palms to receive the violet flame. On the next inhale, see your entire body become violet. And with each inhale, the violet color becomes brighter and brighter, almost electrified in its luminosity. This color will energize you and your energy body. Continue with this visualization for a little bit longer. And now turn your attention to the floor beneath you with your eyes closed and see a silvery white mist start to rise up slowly from the floor. First embracing your feet and slowly reaching up towards your head. This silvery white mist has a balancing effect. It balances your thought body, your emotional body, and your physical body. to bring you into perfect harmony and peace. Continue with this visualization a bit longer. Now let all the visualizations fade, and from this place of balance and higher frequency, begin to see yourself giving of your energy to others through some form of service, something that you really love to do. And see this skill, whatever it is, provided to others, seeing how it helps others. And feel the exchange of love and connection as you give of your beauty, of your life light in sacred service. And be aware of how good it feels to give of your love to others in a meaningful way. And now visualize people giving back to you, reciprocating, sharing their love with you in whatever way you want to visualize. And now visualize people giving to other people. Feeling this drive to do good for others, but then actually acting on that. And see people helping each other. It's through service that we gain more humility and connection and unity consciousness with other soul incarnates around us. It's beautiful. And if you practice this meditation every day for a couple weeks, you will begin to see more opportunities in your life to not only give of your love, but to receive it back. Slowly and gently bring your awareness back to your body and begin to visualize a snow white etheric vitality radiating from every cell of your body in all directions. This is easy for you because you are a being of light. And with each inhale, you radiate more and more light around you. the point where you're so bright it's blinding. And this white aura around you begins to form the shape of an upside-down egg. A beautiful shell of protection around your body. The fatter part of the egg is up by the head, the thinner part beneath the feet. And as we end this meditation, see this protective white shell shining as brightly as you can imagine